Hey everyone, welcome to the Wisconsin Whistle. I'm your host, Dan Dyhard Vachalek on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And we got a packed show today. We're going to be talking about Badgers basketball. They got two great wins the past couple days, one over Purdue and one over Illinois. We'll be talking Marquette basketball. They were off a week, but did get a win over State Hall. The All-Star game in the NBA is finally over with. We're done with the All-Star weekend. However you feel about the game, I'll talk about a little bit about All-Star basketball and how I think it's just awful. It's been awful. And then we'll look ahead to the Bucks season. And the Brewers, everyone is now at spring training. We have an opening day starting pitcher fully announced. And Mark Antonaccio spoke to the media today. I think he did an interview with USA Today, and I'll go over some of what he said and give my thoughts and opinions on that. So don't miss this show. Stay tuned. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Wisconsin Whistle. I'm your host, Dan Vachalek, a.k.a. Dyhard. Got a packed show. I know I haven't talked a lot about the Wisconsin Badgers basketball this year, but I do just have to give them some props because they have some massive wins this year, like their game against Arizona in November where they won. Big win last night over Illinois, who's kind of had their number in recent years. And I mean, it was a dominating win, no matter if you say that Illinois was sick, whatever Illinois was going through. It was still a massive win, especially coming off a very, very tough game against number 7 Purdue, who's lost 3 straight now over the weekend. So, definitely going to talk about some Wisconsin Badgers basketball. They deserve our attention. They deserve our time. I'm more of a Marquette fan. So I don't really catch every single Wisconsin game, and I haven't caught a lot of them this year. I have recently and since probably January. So, I mean, just talking about them is going to be a lot of fun today. There's a guy who should definitely be in All-American conversations, if not on the All-American list. Tanjay, John Tanjay. I'll go over his couple games that have been massive, back-to-back 30-point games. First player in Wisconsin Badgers history to do this is Michael Finley. If you guys remember him when he was a Badger, he ended up playing with the Mavericks and had a nice NBA career. Marquette was off a week, and they had a nice win yesterday over Seton Hall. I mean, the game was played extremely well by Marquette. I'll go over more about Marquette a little bit as well, but the game was played extremely well. And, I mean, you could have shut it off in the second half and not missed anything. That's how much of a blowout it was. And another topic we're going to go over a little bit, I won't cover too much about it, but is Bucks basketball. The All-Star weekend is now finally over. Before we get to our sponsors, I do want to mention how awful the All-Star weekend is. Nobody is interested in this. Draymond Green on national television went off about how awful it is. Nobody liked it. I don't know what they were doing with the 3-team thing. You had Jalen Brunson, who was supposed to be a starter for the Eastern Conference. He played a total of 8 minutes. I don't know. I didn't watch much of it because I had no interest in this 3-team thing. LeBron jumped out maybe an hour before the game and said he's going to rest or whatever. So nobody could replace him, which I didn't think was fair to anybody. They missed out on multiple players that should have been in the All-Star game. But Dame did do some nice stuff. He had a 3-pointer that won the game for his team. He ended up winning the All-Star game with his team. The dunk contest was awful. Andre Jackson Jr. looked terrible. That was really bad. We also have another player, Jericho Sims. When he was in the dunk contest, he was very bad. Giannis, back when he was young, he was bad. So I hope no more Bucks join the All-Star dunk contest. Maybe Giannis, he said he wants to do it next year. John Morant does it. So maybe Giannis improved with dunking. I've definitely seen, night and day difference compared to when he did it, I think, his second year in the league, 2015, 2016. He's definitely going to be a big improvement. So, I look forward to him doing it next year if he does do it. But anyone else besides Giannis, I'm okay with. The skills challenge, I just have to say the Spurs cheated. It was Chris Paul that kind of pushed it, I believe, and he's kind of that guy. He's that guy that's going to bend the rules and push things, and then, when he gets caught for cheating, he's going to kind of whine or whatever, and that's just him. But that was awful to watch. The three-point contest wasn't very fun either. Dame participated. He didn't win. There was a guy from the Bulls. I can't remember his name, but he didn't even convert a dunk in the dunk contest. The celebrity game, nobody pays attention to anymore. I don't know anybody that was participating, maybe 2 or 3 people. Rising Stars game followed this stupid team format again. It's just falling apart, and it's not even fun. I don't even hear about All-Star Weekend being this big thing anymore. Most people I know who are big NBA fans still, they don't even watch All-Star Weekend. They could care less. They watch highlights, and that's about it. So they want to do a USA versus World. NBA said they might do a 1v1 next year. I don't know, but maybe just scrap the whole idea. I just had to get that rant out because that's been on my mind, and I really hate the All-Star game. MLB is the best All-Star game, then NHL. NBA and football, they've just fallen apart, and I don't know how anyone watches those anymore, but we're done with that rant because speaking of MLB, the Brewers, the whole team is now at spring training. We actually have a Tokyo series, I believe, between the Cubs and Dodgers coming up either tomorrow or really soon. This weekend there will be games. So we finally have baseball back in action. Freddie Peralta was named opening day starter. They will be on ESPN this year, which is just outstanding against the Yankees. So that's why we're on ESPN, but that's outstanding. The Rock, who's a local he's the announcer for the Brewers. Been one since I've been a kid, played baseball and everything. He's going to be joining the ESPN broadcast. That was announced. So that is big news as well. And Mark Antanasio did a USA Today interview, I guess. So he spoke to a member of the media, and he discussed some interesting things. He had a quote that I'm going to end up reading, and I'll probably start the show off with this stuff. But he had a quote. It is kind of interesting to hear the quote because it puts into perspective how baseball owners really actually think, and probably, what we see more often than not. Cohen in the Mets, he's an anomaly. That guy doesn't care if he spends $1 billion. He said it himself. I don't care if I take a loss. This is play money, and it is to him. He's worth $17-18 billion. You got a guy that's worth $17-18 billion, and he owns a team. He can spend $1 billion a year and not really care because he's going to get at least $600-700 million back, 500. He could care less. He makes that in his sleep. So, but I want to get to our sponsors first, and then we'll dive into what Antanasio said, and definitely got to cover this Badgers basketball team that's just on a run. They are absolutely on a run.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back, everyone. I saw some of these comments here. This is from Larry B. He's the brains of the operations here at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. NBA All-Star sucks, like the rest of the All-Star. Stupid, pointless. And I definitely got to agree with all that. It's just dumb. I just hate it. I hate the NBA All-Star game. It's stupid. Speaking of NBA, though, I do want to say that Giannis, he was speaking to some Greek media, and he ended up saying that he is never going to ask for a trade out of Milwaukee, and that is positive news, although we've heard that before from different individuals and players, but that is great news to hear. He said they're going to have to force him out. Also, we saw some pictures emerge of his wife pregnant again. So he clearly loves it here. He lives here. he's continually growing his family very fast. So, I definitely think that he doesn't want to uproot and move little children with him as well. So I believe what he's got to say, that he's going to be a Milwaukee Buck for a long time, no matter what rumors are on him, wanting to move because the Bucks aren't performing or the Bucks aren't winning championships. I definitely think Giannis is going to stay. But let me jump into the Brewers, actually. So Mark Attanasio he's the owner of the Brewers, for anyone who didn't know, been an owner for a while, but he spoke to USA Today and yesterday or today, but he claimed that the Brewers have struggled to break even on an annual basis, which they're one of the lowest spending teams or mid teams. They are the smallest market in baseball. Yes, we are smaller than Kansas City and Tampa. They're the smallest market in baseball. They continuously lose players. Willie Adames, he just left the free agency. Corbin Burns, we traded him because we weren't going to be able to pay for him. Devin Williams, as we just saw this offseason, he got traded. Craig Counsell, there was a lot of different things that went on, but we ended up losing him, which proved to be, who cares, because Pat Murphy did a fantastic job last season managing the roster. We don't really draft and develop guys. I'd say we do, but we don't really develop, our farm system to how you would expect. Like the Rays continuously have stars coming out. The Royals have had some star players come out. We're not usually we're top 5 farms. We're not. We're just, for some reason, we're not. We have quality players. I do want to say a lot of players are a lot of quality. Churio, a young guy, he came out. Garrett Mitchell, Frelick, Turang. We have a lot of quality players that have come out of our minor league system, even though our rankings aren't high up there. I really don't pay attention to the rankings like that because, again, you have no idea how these players are going to come out and play. Keston Hiura, pronouncing that wrong probably, but he came out and he's awful in the majors. AAA, he's fantastic. He's a quadruple A player is what I like to call. Too good for AAA, not good enough for the majors. So he'll bounce back and forth for some years. I don't know what team he's with now. Last I heard, he was with the Padres. I don't know. Haven't paid attention. Haven't really cared. He's, again, AAA guy who's not going to cut it in the majors. Strikes out way too much in the majors, but hits every single ball out of the park in AAA. But Attanasio says that the Brewers do not or they struggle to break even on an annual basis. We've made the playoffs the last 6 of the 7 years, though. So is it worth it? It should be. I just can't believe that the Brewers are struggling to break even. Every time I go to a Brewer game, it's packed. The stadium is packed. It's 30,000 people, 25, 30,000 people almost every game. We break 3 million people in attendance almost every game. Granted, we're not on ESPN or Fox all that much. There's a couple games on Fox throughout a year. Unfortunately, there was actually a game where the Brewers were on Fox last year, and I believe they played the Padres. I think it was the Padres. And we had these huge major storms coming through. So the entire game, all we kept seeing was like half the game. I was so mad. I was pissed because I turned in. I said, hey, I'm not going to do anything this Saturday night. I want to watch the Brewer game because I barely get to watch them. I finally just pulled the trigger and paid for FanDuel Sports Network so I could watch all the Brewer games. But I didn't last year, so I actually wanted to watch the Brewer game. And I missed half the game because they kept breaking away to show all these storms and tornado warnings and lightning, and it was stupid. So possible income that we could have gotten from extra Milwaukee people watching the game and everywhere locally, they wanted to watch the game, we lost out on because they wanted to show weather the whole time on Fox. And then we're not on national TV a lot, which also brings in more revenue, more exposure. We don't make it far in the playoffs, which, that hurts as well. The farther you advance, the more money, more ticket sales, more merchandise sales, food, everything like that, parking, all that plays factors into the equation. But it's hard for me to believe that the Brewers Stadium, when you go to a game, you try to go into their merchandise booth or store, and it's packed. Everything's way overpriced. There's people standing 15 deep in line trying to buy stuff. Every concession stand is packed. They have a million different concession stands, but everyone goes to every single one. I mean, there's a lot of different things there that I just find hard to believe they don't break. They're not making money. It's a small market, I get it, but you're not making money. I don't really buy it, but that's what he claims. He didn't give any stats or anything on it, so I have no idea what the actual factual numbers are. But he also said, and this was a really interesting quote, which is going to lead to some more thoughts of mine on this, because this quote is actually a little alarming to me. He said, "Is my job to win a World Series, or is my job to provide a summer of entertainment and passion and a way for families to come together?" And I don't think that's an or question, an or statement, and or anything. It's an and. Your job is not only to make sure that as an owner, you see enjoyment in getting their World Series ring and bringing that to Milwaukee. Milwaukee's been in one World Series, and they have none. They never won one. 1984, I believe, they lost to the Cardinals when they were in the American League. Brewers were in the American League, and haven't been back, haven't won one. We don't have a ring, never had a parade, never saw a celebration. The only parade that I ever recall, I don't even know if they had one in the 70s or 80s when the Bucks won the NBA championship, but was the Bucks parade. I didn't go to that one. I'm not really big on big crowds, but I was down there almost every game for the Bucks championship run. I was there for wasn't in the stadium, but I was outside with, I don't know, it had to have been 10,000 people plus. I mean, it was just packed out there, and that was great. And while the Brewers might not command that much attention like the Bucks did, or bring, unify the city, it's definitely going to bring a lot of people together. It's going to bring a lot more money, a lot more attention to the city. It's going to be great for the city. And as an owner, you should be trying to win a World Series. Otherwise, why are you owning the team? It's not. Excuse me. I don't think that owning a sports team is a true business sense or a true business fashion. You don't say, yeah, I'm going to own the Brewers so that, I own a sports team, I can make millions and millions and maybe billions of dollars. I don't really see owning a sports team as a business venture. Like if you say, I'm going to invest in such and such, or I'm, like Elon Musk. If he went and bought a sports team, it's not going to be because he wants to make a bunch of money. It's going to be because he has a passion for whatever team that is. Like we hear Gary Vee wants to buy the Jets. That's his passion. He doesn't want to buy the Jets because he knows he can make a bunch of money. He wants to buy the Jets because he loves the Jets. So if you're going to buy a sports organization or a sports team, you're not buying it to make money. You're buying it for a hobby. You're buying it for, fun, but you want to win. That's the point of buying the team, is you want to win. You want to see your team win. Players perform. That's it. And when you say to provide a summer of entertainment and passion, well, the Chicago White Sox could have said that they were providing a summer of entertainment and passion last year while they racked up 120 losses. Was it entertainment? Yes, they put a baseball team together. They played games. They were out there performing. Yeah, it might not have been entertaining to watch them lose consistently, but they did put an entertainment event. They put it together and they displayed that. And that's what I take from his comment, is entertainment and passion is just, you just throwing something out there oh, here's something to do tonight. Hey, there's 82 games at home, 81 games in Milwaukee that they get to play. There's 81 opportunities from April until September that, you could go and watch the Brewers play. It is something to do. You drink, you just talk with people, you tailgate before the games, you eat some expensive food, you kill 3 hours or 2 hours and 2.5 hours with drive and everything, a night. Businesses or kids have fun and stuff. You take your kids for a good experience. I get all that. It is entertainment. It is some passion. It is a way for families or friends or, a work outing. But as an owner, personally, while I want that to be fun, it's a lot more fun for everyone if the Brewers win. It's a lot more fun when the home team wins. When you go to a game, you could be 10 years old, you could be 45, you could be 70. If you go to a game and you're rooting for the home team, no matter what team, sport, or anything, watching that team lose is not fun. Just watching a blowout of 12-2 is not fun. Even if the Brewers win, and it's a blowout, that's more fun than watching them lose in a blowout. It's more fun than just watching them lose at all. And blowouts aren't actually that much fun, no matter what team it is. I mean, it is fun at the start, and then after a little while, it's like, well, I think it's time to go. And, that's how a blowout is to me, at least. But I'd much rather watch a Brewers blowout, a 15-2 win, than just watch them perform and play and just look like garbage every game, because that's not fun. I watched the Brewers look like shit. I've watched the Brewers not play well, and that's not very fun. That's, I've watched them play very well. I've watched them win. I've watched them win the NL Central 6 out of the last 7 years, or last 2-3 years. Watched them make the playoffs the last 6 to 7 years, I should say. That's fun. That's watching them, having confidence, talking with friends or family or anybody about, hey, even strangers you could talk about the Brewers with, like, man, they might have their number, it's about time, they're due for it. They got a lot of good such and such, pitching, off, whatever the case is, the bullpen's great, anything like that. That's a lot more fun than saying, or you've seen the Brewers? No, I don't watch them. I just watch movies at night because the Brewers are 25 and 60. That's a lot more fun. And as an owner, you should be trying to win and have fun, because winning is fun. I don't know what other people think or what's going on with, the world and how people view everything, but winning to me is fun. Whether I'm winning in business, life, a video game, a board game, a pickup basketball game, my fantasy team, or watching my favorite sports teams win, that's fun. If I'm playing sports like I did at high school or, in my childhood, winning was fun. If I didn't win, I didn't have fun. That's how I viewed it. If I did not win, it was not fun to me. I don't care if I had 5 home runs, I went 5 for 5, and I struck out every batter that I faced, and I pitched 3 innings. But if one inning they scored 6 runs, we lost 6-5. The game was not fun for me. I could care less how I did. We lost. That's not fun. So football, same way. You could play an outstanding game. You lose. It's not fun. So having fun, entertainment, passion, and families coming together is with winning. And what better way to provide some entertainment, passion, and families coming together than going to watch a World Series game at American Family Field, or watching the Brewers win the World Series at American Family Field. I'm pretty sure the Dodgers are having a lot of entertainment, a lot of fun, and they have a lot of passionate fans. I'm sure the Yankees are the same way after winning 20-some pennants, winning 27, 20 whatever World Series. I'm sure the Mets are having a lot of fun making it to the World Series, making it to the National League Championship, whatever. I call it the National League Championship game. But, almost making it to the World Series, signing Juan Soto, being competitive. Speaking of the Mets, David Stearns left. Why? He wants a bigger market, wants to be able to spend. You know how tough it is to try to get a manager here in Milwaukee to coach and manage the Brewers when oh, this guy's awesome. That this is an MVP player. We need him for years. We could build around him. Oh, nope, sorry, we're not even going to attempt to pay him because that we just can't. So goodbye. It was nice raising you up and having you for a couple seasons, but we'll see you later. That's just what it is. Corbin Burns, he might be the best pitcher in baseball right now. There was no way we were going to sign him. Absolute no way at all. And we traded him to the Orioles. And, he ended up being there for 1 year, free agent, and signed with the Diamondbacks. Brewers aren't going to sign anybody. That you saw this offseason, they did nothing. It's just what you're going to expect. There's been, I believe it was Corbin Burns, we pissed him off completely because we wanted to argue about our arbitration number. This is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Just give him what he wants. I want $8 million. No, you deserve 6.5. Just give him the 8. Give him 8. It's a steal anyway. Just give him 8. What's $1.5 million for this year going to matter to you? Just give him 8. Give him what he wants. Instead, we pissed him off completely, and any chance of even trying to re-sign him, well, he's going to try to fuck us. He's going to definitely come out there and say, you know what? I would give you a hometown discount, but you thought I was worth 6.5 instead of 8, and I'm one of the best, most consistent pitchers in baseball. So, no, I want $400 million. 5 years, too. 6, maybe 6. He might just say some astronomical thing. And what are the Brewers going to do? Well, sorry, we can't do that. It's going to be the same thing. At least he might work with you a little bit. You know what you have. I only have X amount of dollars I could spend. I can't sign big free agents. I'm able to pay Christian Yelich, but he's injured constantly. So, I can't really spend too much, but I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to spend a little more on you, sacrifice other spots, and it's just not, they don't do that. They instead piss him off every time and don't spend any money. It's very frustrating as a fan. I've come to understand it. I hope a lot of other fans have come to understand it. It's just we're not going to see a lot of activity in free agency. We're not going to see a lot of players get retained. We're not going to see a lot of – we're just not. We're going to watch a lot of players leave, lose a lot of players. It's just what it is. But hearing these comments from the owner – where he says, is it my job to win a World Series or is my job to provide entertainment? That's not very positive. All the sentiment about him being cheap, him not wanting to spend money, it is kind of true off of these comments to me. I get it. You're not worth a lot of money. You're not. I think you're worth the least amount of any owner in baseball by a pretty good margin. But you were able to own a baseball team. And that's better than I could say because I can't spend billions of dollars on a team. I can't spend millions. I can't even spend $100,000 on a team. So you're able to buy a team. You do have a lot of money, but you just don't have enough to compete in baseball. Maybe you need a cap. You need to own a team that there's a cap in because baseball, there's not one. You competed against a team that spends $1 billion worth of contracts for like 4 players. You're not going to compete in free agency with that. These are huge money deals that Brewers aren't going to compete. So you have to reevaluate how you build your roster. You have to reevaluate everything. And the Brewers have done a really good job at this. They've done a very good job at maintaining their roster. Like, I saw a projection for their opening day lineup this year. We're going to have Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, William Contreras. William Contreras is under club control for a couple more years. We just actually agreed to him with arbitration, like $6.1 million, so that was great. And he's an MVP-type player. But after the top 3 there, Chourio, we have him for probably 4 or 5 more years. But after them, actually, we have Chourio for whatever his contract is. It was like 8 or 10 years or something like that he signed. So $80 million or whatever his contract he signed before he even touched the major league field was great. So we have him for an extended period of time. But after William Contreras is Garrett Mitchell, Bryce Hoskins, he's been all right. I can't complain too much. Sal Frelick, Bryce Turang, who had a nice season last year, especially stealing bases. Joey Ortiz and Oliver Dunn at third. Rotation right now without Woodruff on it, just because we're unsure when he's going to be able to come back. Positive news is that he was pitching to live batters. Non-positive news is he's kind of taking it at his own pace because it was a severe injury that he had surgery on, so he needs to be able to be healthy. Freddie Peralta, Tobias Myers, Nestor Cortez, Aaron Savale, and Aaron Ashby. That's the projected starting rotation right now. The bullpen I'm very confident in again this year. We did very well last year. Starting rotation I'm iffy on. I don't know if Nestor Cortez is going to be fully healthy this year. Last year he dealt with an injury. I can't remember what the injury was, but he dealt with an injury that's pretty much a pre-leader to Tommy John surgery. So that's something to keep your eyes out for. Hopefully he stays healthy. But Brewers have to work with what they have to work with. They know how they have to work with this. This shouldn't be new. So, but just to hear that from the owner was a little disappointing. And that's all I have to say on that. You could give your thoughts to me on one of these two Twitter accounts. You could let me know what you think about the owner's comments. You could also click the link here that's scrolling on the bottom to support the show. And we'll see what comes of that. Maybe he clarifies what he was talking about. Maybe he kind of expands a little more. Maybe we get the numbers. By next show, I could break down some of the numbers on, exactly how the Brewers are barely breaking even each year on an annual basis. And we'll go from there. But I think the Brewers can win the NL Central this year again. I think they're going to be a very good team, a very fun team to watch. So we're going to look forward to that. And another very fun team to watch is the Wisconsin Badgers. And they're super fun to watch. Their game last night over Illinois, while it was close for most of I'd say three-fourths of the game, up about halfway through the second half, it was close. And, Wisconsin just took off. And once they took off, it was over with. But that's a very fun team to watch. And before I get too deep into that, let's hear something from some other shows that you definitely need to check out on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dyhard.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys spending time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
So speaking of fast break, Badgers had 7 fast break points last night compared to 0 for Illinois. And this is a completely different Badgers team than we've seen in the past. Usually the Big Ten, especially the Badgers, they've been more of a defensive team. Low scoring, defensive battles aren't really, 38 to 32 at halftime and in the 60s. And this year is completely different for the Badgers. They're absolutely on a tear. They average 82 points a game, shooting 46.8% from the field, 36.8 from threes. And they have 267 three-pointers made on 726 attempts on the year. And they're getting it. A lot of this production, especially recently, is from John Tonje. He definitely needs to be in the All-American conversation. He definitely needs to be talked about as one of the best players in basketball. I heard something this morning from Gary Parrish of CBS Sports. He mentioned that John Tonje was 296 in the transfer portal. So he's almost 300, number 300. So 295 players are better than him in the transfer portal. Yet back-to-back games, not only has he scored 31 and 32 points in 2 huge wins, but he also has 41 points against Arizona. That was a 15-point victory against Arizona. He had 33 points against Pitt, and he's averaging over 20 points a game. I think it's like 23 or something like that in his last 6 games. Since the USC game where he played 22 minutes, didn't make a shot, and didn't really do much, he's had point totals of 24, 27, 23, 27, 15, 22, 32, and 31. And this guy has been just unbelievable for the Badgers. And we watched him just take over the game against Purdue. He had a poor first half. In the second half, he just completely lit it up. I don't have that written down. Oh, yes, I do. 13 points, 3 minutes, 43 seconds. That's unbelievable. I mean, against the number 7 ranked Purdue team, and you're just going off like it's no problem at all. It is very impressive. The other thing is Wisconsin took a lot of threes that game. They had 30 threes. They made 40%. Purdue shot the ball well. They had 51% shooting from the field, 45.5 from 3, but they just didn't make like the Badgers made. Badgers had a very strong second half. They shot 61% from the field. They rebounded nicely. They had points in the paint. I mean, they played a very competitive game against Purdue, and they ended up winning. They had 3 turnovers. Purdue only had 4. They had 4 blocks. Wisconsin had 4 blocks. They had less fouls. This is a Wisconsin team that is a lot of fun. And speaking of that Purdue game, Kamari McGee ended up getting ejected. he got a flagrant 2. I think the call was ridiculous. I don't know what they were thinking or why. I don't know why this was really called like this. I understand what the announcers or what they said at halftime about this. I understand that they're not looking at intent, I guess, or they're just kind of going by this. Here's a guideline rule. They go by this, and that's it. I understand that a little bit, but trying to get around a screen on Trey Kaufman-Renn, he didn't intentionally, throw an elbow into the guy's groin. He didn't intentionally try to hurt him. You could see he was falling down as he's trying to make a basketball move and get around a screen. And I just thought it was kind of ridiculous that you get a flagrant 2 and ejected. And that it wasn't malicious. It's clearly accidental. I mean, I just can't figure out why you would say, yeah, that's a flagrant 2. He needs to be ejected, especially it was pretty early in the game, and McGee is a pretty big, that's a pretty big loss for the Badgers. I just don't understand it. I mean, McGee, he's been playing pretty well. He's got about 7 points a game, 2.5 rebounds, and about 2 assists a game, shooting 50% from the field, 55.4% from 3. So, I mean, losing him is actually kind of big. I mean, he's a good defender, and losing him is – you don't really have backup guards besides Blackwell and Tanjay to really, fill in there, except this one walk-on that I wanted to bring up as well, who – he had a career-high 9 points against Arizona, and he was a walk-on. Against Arizona, the biggest game of the year up until, besides the Marquette game, and pretty much this is the biggest game of the year, though, for Wisconsin. And I would say this is bigger than Arizona, this is bigger than Marquette, is because this is in conference. Badgers can win the Big Ten Conference for the regular season still if they keep winning. They still have to play Michigan State, so that's going to be a huge game for them as well. That might actually end up being bigger than Purdue right now just because Purdue has been losing. But in the biggest stage, he scored 11 points, 4 of 6 field goals, 3 of 4 from three-pointers. And he's a walk-on that he had to take over the point guard position, ends up playing 17 minutes against Purdue, but didn't turn the ball over one time. And I actually was looking up his stats this year, and in all of his games that he's played, he's listed – so against, I believe that's Detroit Mercy, he has 1 turnover in 13 minutes, and that was in December. He had one against Chicago State, sorry. He'd won against Chicago State in November, and he had one against Pitt in November, and that's it. And he's played, he's played considerable minutes. He had no turnovers against Arizona as well in 19 minutes. 17 minutes against Illinois the last time, no turnovers. 16 minutes against Minnesota, no turnovers. Yeah, he's had some fouls, but he doesn't turn the ball over, and this guy is a walk-on. He's kind of like that diamond in the rough that, when it's time for the March Madness tournament, Jack Janicki is going to come out, and he's going to surprise a lot of people. He's going to play, maybe 10, 12, 15 minutes a game, maybe 10. They don't like to play a lot of bench in March Madness because of the seriousness of the games, but I definitely think that he deserves playing time and will get that playing time. And he's going to be that guy where, you give Tanjay, you give Blackwell, you give McGee, you give these players a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of rest, and he's going to come out and perform and keep the ball with the Badgers. And that's what you need to be successful. Speaking of the March Madness tournament, before the Purdue game, some projections came out from the NCAA committee on how the rankings are going to be determined this year. And the Badgers were number 3. They're going to be a 3 seed, is what it's looking like. And hopefully we can get that up to a 2 seed. And, I haven't seen the Badgers really perform well in the tournament in multiple years. I thought I had it written down, but apparently I don't. But the Badgers have not had a lot of success. I think it was last year or the year before they didn't even make the NCAA tournament. So, watching them be a top seed this year, especially a team that was projected to be 12th in the Big Ten. Greg Gard was supposed to be on the hot seat, and he's not. Badgers are 21-5, I think, on the year, and third in the Big Ten. So, I mean, Badgers are playing fantastic basketball this year, and it's really thanks to Tanze, who's averaging 19.5 points a game, shooting 91% from the line. You have Blackwell averaging 15, shooting 47% from the field. You have Nolan Winter, who's averaging 20 minutes a game. He's almost at 10 points a game, but he's shooting over 50% from the field. They're rebounding nicely. And they rip off runs. I mean, they went on a 10-2 run after Kamari McGee was ejected, so something lit a fire under them. They went on a run against Illinois. For most of the game, or at least the first half, they were dominating the boards. I mean, they had a possession where they had like 6 or 7 straight offensive rebounds go on. And Illinois is one of the best rebounding teams in the country. And funny enough, UWM is actually number 1. And Illinois is number 2, according to what I saw watching the game last night. The little pop-up on the bottom and stuff it said Milwaukee number 1, which I didn't look, but that's what it said, so I'm going to go off of that. But total rebounds last night, 39 for the Badgers and 30 for Illinois. Badgers had 13 offensive rebounds. Illinois had 9, 26 defensive, 21 for Illinois. And again, this was another game where Badgers shot very well. They shot 52% from the field. They shot 41% from 3. And while they did have 10 turnovers, Illinois had 14. While Illinois is kind of a kryptonite, they fell apart in the second half. I don't know if they got tired. I don't know what, they didn't do a handshake. Handshake is stupid to me. It's not a big deal. It's not a I get it, high school and under, okay, do the handshake, whatever. College, it's, you're grown adults. You don't need the handshake. We get it if you want to, walk around and say, good game to someone, or if you want to go to the locker room, whatever, that's fine. We see it, you don't need to stand in line and shake everyone's hand like it's elementary school. I'm not a big proponent of it. Whatever the case, though, that they made it kind of a big deal. They had to ask Illinois why they didn't do it, and they said they didn't want to give them an illness because there's illnesses going around Illinois. Whatever. It just seemed like to me that's a little bit more of an excuse that they could use on why they lost by 21 to Wisconsin, while Illinois is trying to fight for a March Madness tournament spot, which I think they might get. But it was a fantastic game, and the second half is really when it took off. And getting 31 points from Tanze is you can't ask for something better than that. Stephen Krall, he had 20. He shot very well, 7 of 10 from the field. Blackwell shot 7 of 15 with 16 points. Nolan Winter, big 8 rebounds. The team played well, and that's what you need on a consistent basis. Michigan's leading the conference. You have Michigan State a half game behind them and Wisconsin a game and a half. So the thing about it, though, is Michigan State and Wisconsin are both at 21-5 overall. Michigan is 20-5 overall. So overall on the season, all the Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Michigan are all right there. Wisconsin's actually ranked higher than both teams. So, coming in, this is going to be a nice battle. I saw something on Twitter today where the Badgers' remaining games, they're actually favored to win all of them, except one, Michigan State. Their percent chance of winning that game is 45%. Outside of that game, versus Oregon, 81%. Washington, 93%. Michigan State's the 45%. Minnesota, 78%. And Penn State, 91%. So out of 5 games, let's say you win the 4. So you'd be 15-4. And then the Michigan State is a toss-up, so if we give that a win, you're going to be 15-4 in the conference. Michigan State, because they will lose, they'll get that fourth loss. But the thing that in order to win this conference is you're going to need Michigan to lose a couple games. And they play Michigan State coming up on Friday night. That's an enormous game on Fox. Then they got Nebraska, Rutgers, Illinois. They have another Maryland game. And then they finish off the year again at Michigan State. So while you want Michigan State to lose, you want Michigan State to actually beat Michigan both of these games that they have coming up and to end the season. You push Michigan to get these losses, and you root for Illinois, Rutgers, Nebraska, Maryland. You want one of those teams to also beat Michigan in order to win this conference. Now, Michigan barely beat Ohio State 86-83. They barely beat Purdue 75-73 in tough games. They've had a lot of close games against, Rutgers. They only won by 3. They got blew out by Purdue at Purdue earlier in the year. So Michigan is vulnerable. They can lose these games. The bad thing is, though, is that they beat Wisconsin earlier in the year by 3 points. So we can't – if you want to win the conference, you can't tie them. And now, it's not that big of a deal to win the conference, but it does help in seeding. If you get the number 1 overall seed for the Big Ten tournament, that's kind of helpful. It not completely, but you get an easier bracket. Now, I saw something that the last 2 teams in the Big Ten do not make the Big Ten tournament. If I'm wrong, correct me, please. Make a comment, something. But I don't think they'll make that. So right now we're looking at either Washington, Northwestern, or Penn State that won't make it. But, half the conference, I'd say, is very beatable. I mean, from Ohio State, USC, Indiana, Minnesota, Iowa, Rutgers, Washington, Northwestern, Penn State, extremely beatable. Nebraska's a pretty good team. Oregon's not bad. And Illinois is always tough for the Badgers. UCLA is pretty good. Maryland's good. Purdue, we just watched them win. Rest of the conference is pretty good, but getting the worst of the worst, at least ranking-wise, is helpful. And the Badgers are just clicking. Their offense is moving very fast. They like to shoot the ball. They're scoring a lot of points a game. And I think that anyone in this conference that they face, they can beat. I think they could beat Michigan State. I think they could beat Michigan. I think we just saw them beat Purdue pretty easily. I'd say it was pretty easily. I know they were losing by, I think, 1 at halftime, but the game was pretty close, especially, you take out McGee early in the first half, and you put him back in, it's a different game at halftime. It's a different game completely. You don't have Jack Janicki stepping up in his spot like he did, but you might have him still step up in a reserve role, come in, as a bench guy, because he does get minutes, and he might have still did the same thing. You can't just blame that McGee was out. That's why he played like that. But Wisconsin is a very, very good team. I think Wisconsin can compete with a lot of teams in college basketball. The only teams that I think are really that stand out to me, and frankly, it's actually just 2. Maybe you could throw Florida in there as well. That's very, very good, or maybe Duke, just with Cooper Flagg because he's always tough. But I still think the Badgers can beat them. But Alabama and Auburn, those 2 teams are – I watched them play this past weekend, and that was just such a fun game to watch. A lot of offense, a lot of shooting. They just have talented players, and that was such a fun game to watch. And that's going to be those 2 teams, I think, are probably the cream of the crop. I think Florida is right under them, Duke as well. Houston's very good. Tennessee is very good. Texas A&M and Iowa State, I'd say the Badgers could definitely beat them. And I think the Badgers could come out and beat St. John's. I think St. John's is a very tough defensive team. But with how the Badgers push the ball and keep shooting, St. John's has won games where they haven't shot over 40%. Like I've spoken a couple shows ago, Marquette and St. John's are very good defensive teams, and they've won games where they haven't shot 40%, and that's not going to cut it especially if you're going to play the Badgers this year, it's not going to cut it. I've said that multiple times about Marquette, where if you don't shoot and make shots like consistently, that's not going to cut it very well. You're not going to advance far in the tournament. And Wisconsin is a team that likes to light it up. They will keep shooting, as we saw against Purdue. They shot up, 30-some shots. They shot up 33s. If teams are going to shoot 33s and shoot 40% from threes, you're going to win some games. You're going to play well. If you shoot 62%, 61.5% from the field, you're going to win a lot of those games. It doesn't matter unless you allow the other team to shoot 60 or close to you, but it doesn't really matter who you play. If you're shooting that well, you're going to win most games. You're putting up a lot of points. You're going to win most games. I mean, that's just what it is. So you have to shoot that well to play with Auburn. You have to shoot that well to play with Bama. You have to shoot that well to play with Flag and Duke. Got to shoot that well to play with Florida. You got to shoot that well to play with a lot of top teams. And the Badgers this year, especially with Tanjay and Blackwell and just everyone on the team, Walters, you're going to have to, perform and shoot well. And the Badgers have done that this year. And watching these past two games, actually sitting down, just watching the TV and watching them instead of watching them on replay or anything, that you could see that. You see their offense move. They pass the ball consistently. They like to get points in the paint, but they're not afraid to shoot the three. They move the ball very well. They pass it around very well. The Badgers are a very good offensive team. They're sixth most efficient offense in the country, and they're 44th in adjusted defensive efficiency on the year. And while your defense isn't the best, it's still top 50. And I don't know how many college teams there are out of that ranking, but I think it's like 160 or some ridiculous number. So you have a very, very good team. You have the sixth best efficient offense in college basketball. You can compete with any team that's out there. And while I see that, the Badgers did go up 5 spots in the AP top 25, they went up 4 in the coaches poll. Both have them listed at 11. After beating Purdue, Purdue was actually 14th in the coaches poll, but after beating Purdue, they went up. After beating Illinois, I would put them higher. After, whatever the result is against Oregon, let's say that's a W, I'm definitely raising them up as well. I think they're better than St. John's, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, Iowa State. They're better than them. I heard on Gary Parrish's show he has them 7th. If that's consistent with how the AP or the coaches poll is going to rank, we're going to see the Badgers top 10, maybe 7th, maybe 8th. And as long as they keep going up, they can compete with these teams. And this is going to be a very deep run for them. And while I was on the Marquette train earlier, after their 3 losses against UConn, Creighton, and St. John's, this isn't Marquette's year. I think this is going to be a 3rd straight year where we see Marquette kind of, I don't think they're going to make the Sweet 16. Maybe round of 32 loss. I'm not sure, but watching them last night against Seton Hall was very, very positive. I want to see how they finish off the year, how they extend on this. They had a week off, had an entire week off. They didn't play – what was their game? February 11th to February 18th. So, yes, a full, complete week off. And after those 3 losses against, again, UConn, St. John's, and Creighton, they really needed that break. DePaul, while they did win by 10, they needed a break. They looked tired. They looked off. They didn't look like they were very consistent how they were playing earlier in the season. And getting a nice victory over Seton Hall against a team that they definitely needed to beat and should have beat, it was very positive. The game was close. I'd say maybe 5 minutes in the game, and that was about it. And after that, it was I mean, you could have turned the game off, honestly, at halftime and not missed anything. And that's positive. That's what you want to see, honestly, as a fan. That's what you want from the team. Ben Gold kind of came back to life, 6 boards and 10 points. Chase Ross, he's kind of been going through a slump a little bit. 11 points and 5 assists. Shot 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. Marquette had 7 different players shoot threes. 4 of them made 2 each. Demarius Owens, he went 2 for 2. I mean, yeah, nice. Trey Norman had 9 points off the bench. Lowry had 7. You're getting consistent play. You saw some very nice play. Players didn't need to do a whole lot. Stevie Mitchell played 19 minutes. Granted, he was dealing with some injury, so he did miss, I think, like 8 minutes left in the first half or 10 or something. I think it was 8 minutes, but he did miss some time in the first half. He only had 2 points on 2 shots, but he also had 2 steals, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. So, you didn't need that from him because everyone else performed. And if you get that consistent play where you shot 53% from the field and 40 from 3, that's very positive things to see from Marquette that, really strives off their defense. Granted, Seton Hall is terrible. They're 2-13 in the conference. They shot 36% and 25% from 3. They had 10 turnovers. Marquette actually had 14. But the thing about it is they still played a complete game. And no matter who your opponent is, because these are all D1 athletes, you need to play complete games and you need to come out there and perform week in and week out. And to see this rebound after a whole week off was very, very positive for Marquette. It's something that really needed to be done and be shown to Marquette fans. I think it needed to be shown internally and to the team from not only their coaching staff at Shaka Smart, but to the players, to each other, that, hey, we can do this. We're a lot better than what we've shown. They won by 24 points. Their last game against Seton Hall, they won by 17. So, I mean, this was very positive. Now we have a Villanova team that just actually collapsed against UConn, but they were leading big against UConn last night, and they ended up losing. But this is going to be a tough test because it is at Nova. It will be Friday. This is going to be a tough test, and Marquette has to rebound off this game. This was a great start after a week off, and if you continue this momentum, I think Villanova, you're going to have no problems. I thought I read something today. I could have been wrong. I'm going to try to look it up, actually, but I think like UConn went on like a 23-6 run or a 32-6 run or some ridiculous thing in order to win the game. They won by 7. They were actually down by 8 at half, and they 40-25 in the second half. Oh, here it is. 27-6 run they closed the game on. UConn did. So, I mean, Villanova did collapse. It shows that their defense is susceptible to good offensive play. And the thing about it, too, is UConn was favored by 8.5. A lot of people thought that UConn was just, this game wasn't going to be that close. Villanova's 8-8 in the conference. They're kind of average. But they played a tough game. And if you, talk, okay, well, UConn's, not the best team in the conference. They're not the, why are we talking about UConn? They just came in and beat Marquette. They started the run. They started St. John's beating them. They started Creighton beating them. Granted, Marquette is, listed as second in the conference right now, standings. But Marquette still has to play them again at the end of the year. They still have to play St. John's at the end of the year. They get Nova, they get Providence, and they get Georgetown. They're all right there within each other. Nova's 8-8 in the conference, Georgetown 6-8, Providence 6-9. Against all these teams, again, Marquette has beat them all. They've beat Villanova in their last meeting, 87-74. They beat Georgetown 74-66, and they beat Providence 78-50. You play these games how you played last night, you're going to win these games just like how you won last night. You're going to win these games and come into UConn on the 5th of March and have a lot of confidence, and hopefully you pull out that game. You win that game. Now you play St. John's. That's a very tough game, but if you could beat them, that's going to give them a lot of momentum moving into the Big East tournament. And if you have a lot of momentum moving into the Big East tournament, we've seen a lot of teams, Cinderella teams definitely included in this, but we've seen a lot of teams across all sports, all levels. When they get hot, when it's time for the playoffs, they do a lot of damage. And watching Marquette, they have a team that could do a lot of damage. They have one of the best defensive teams in the league. It's like, I think they're top 5 or top 6 in defense. I'd say they are. Looking to see where their numbers are. I would have to actually sit here and research. They're a very good defensive team, though. They can win without shooting the ball. They can win in different ways. They don't turn the ball over a lot. They force turnovers. And that's just, those things alone are how you win games, And they need to be on this hot run. You need to be on a hot run going into the Big East tournament. While I would say the SEC is the best conference in college basketball, historically, Big East is the best, is the biggest, at least biggest name. They're the most watched. I mean, they're at Madison Square Garden, the pinnacle of basketball. That's where the Big East tournament is held. That's where you're going to watch this. And Marquette coming in and performing well is going to bode very, very nicely going into March Madness. And as a team that limits turnovers, as a team that forces turnovers, that's going to be critical. I mean, that's definitely going to be a big thing for Marquette this year, and hopefully getting past the round of 32. It's been disappointing not seeing them advance how they should have been in the previous seasons. And I thought last year they were going to really run. I thought the year before they were going to really run. And this year I think that they can. And frankly, I don't want to get my hopes up, but my hopes are up. And I think we're going to have a lot of success for Wisconsin college basketball. I know UWM isn't really in the mix. If they win the Horizon League tournament, yeah, they're in the bracket. UW Green Bay and Doug Gottlieb, I don't even want to talk about them because they're awful. He's been horrible. I don't know if he wants to go back to doing a show. I don't know. I don't even know if he still does a show, but LeBron was ribbing him. I've seen a couple other people on social media giving him a lot of shit, but UW Green Bay is not in there. Wisconsin Badgers and Marquette Golden Eagles. Those are the two teams in Wisconsin for college basketball. Those are the two teams that we're going to watch. Those are the two teams that are very good. It could do a lot of damage. And while I don't think Marquette would beat Wisconsin again, they're going to be in different brackets. I hope. Please put them in different divisions. I have to cut off and say they have to be put in different divisions. I don't want to see both in the Midwest. I don't want to see both in the West. I don't want to see them face each other unless it's the national championship. I want them in two separate brackets, 2 different days of playing. One plays on Thursday, one plays on Friday. Play it like that, please. But they're going to be fun teams. And I think Wisconsin is definitely going to be that team that you need to tune into and watch if you haven't watched any of their games yet. They have a game actually. Sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. They have a game Friday. I just want to see who they play. Oregon. So my memory is going away here. Where they play Oregon Friday, and that's going to be, I would suggest tuning into that game. Watch the Badgers if you haven't. If you haven't watched that game Saturday against Purdue, you should have. But it's okay. Watch them against Oregon. Watch how they perform. Watch this team that, frankly, this is going to sound a little cocky, but watch the team that's going to make a lot of noise in the March Madness bracket. Watch this team and see what's going on. even if you don't want to watch Wisconsin just because it's Wisconsin, I hate Wisconsin. If that's your mentality, if you're watching out of state and that's your mentality, watch them so you could fill out your bracket properly. I know some random person that is picking teams off of color and name, and that's a warm state. They might do super well and probably win your bracket, but you come in there and pick teams off a knowledgeable basis. You feel good about your bracket, very confident, and that's how it should be in any sort of gambling or something for fun or a competition of any sort. But Wisconsin Badgers are a team to watch. Marquette, they need to rebound, play games just like how they played last night. How they played against last night was super positive. Play like that again, it's going to be super positive, and they just have to rebound and keep it going. Speaking of Marquette, they did lock in their game against Indiana. It will be at the United Center. I saw the news come through today. So that will be next year in November. That'll be a big game. So that'll be fun. That'll be a fun game for Marquette. But, this is going to be a fun stretch, fun final game, a 5-game stretch. And I hope you all tune in and watch the Badgers, watch Marquette, because we'll definitely be talking about them all the way up until March Madness tournament. We're going to be talking Bucks basketball now when they come back to action tomorrow night against the Clippers, and then they play against the Wizards. Speaking of the Bucks, I did want to say that Giannis was back practicing. They said everybody was back practicing. Status for him tomorrow night is uncertain. He is questionable currently. He did get a lot of work in, but they're not sure. Doc Rivers mainly is not sure if he's going to play tomorrow night. So that's something to watch. I did actually read something that was interesting on Giannis. Something that's going to be, as he ages, as he's not going to be able to do a lot of different things that you see currently about driving to the rim and everything like that. Fadeaway jumpers are going to be something that's going to keep him playing and keep him starting, especially as he gets, mid to high 30s in age. He's 46% of those on the year, 30 of 65. So I just thought that was a fun stat to throw out there. Hopefully Giannis gets in there against the Clippers at home. That would be a nice win, especially since the last time they played the Clippers, their defense was bad. They let James Harden score 40, Norman Powell go off. So you contain those guys. It's crunch time now for the NBA. So I definitely look forward to watching the Bucks here coming up next week. We'll definitely be talking about some Bucks recaps, hopefully all positive news. We'll be talking Marquette, Wisconsin Badgers. And then, of course, hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit about the Brewers. Some games should be kicking off soon. If not, if they haven't kicked off, then we will be, leading up to some games. And before the season starts, we'll give a little, probably a 20, 30-minute preview for the Brewers, look at how they're doing. They're not projected to win the NL Central currently, but I personally think that they will. I personally think that they are better than what people will write them off to be. Last year, they thought the Cubs were shoo-ins. They thought Craig Counsell leaving was going to just demoralize and crush the Brewers, and it was the complete opposite. It crushed the Cubs, actually. So, I have a lot of faith in the Brewers. This is a lot of fun watching Wisconsin, a lot of fun watching Marquette. Hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun watching the Bucks. So stay tuned. Everyone, thank you for listening to the Wisconsin Whistle. I'm your host, Dan Dyhard Vachalek. You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Don't forget to check out that support link and smash that button and make sure to show your support. Make sure to follow the main show account on Twitter at Whistle, IESR, or my main account at Dyhard, which is not Wisconsin Whistle account is all Wisconsin sports only. I do not really talk about any other sports on that one. Dyhard, I will talk about Wisconsin sports, live tweet a lot of games on there, and I do also talk about every other sport and team. So, especially I like NASCAR, so I talk about that as well on there. So, check me out down there. Follow our main page at IE Sports Radio. If you're listening on YouTube, smash that like button and hit that subscribe. Also hit that little bell so you get the notifications for when every show goes live. Follow us on Twitter. Hit that support button. Every show has one, so if you want to support every show, that's even better. Make sure to click that button now, or just type it in. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week at 6 p.m. You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed